Imagine the look on those fake cops' faces when my wife, Commander Rachel Dawson, security chief at the local naval base, calmly held up her credentials and asked, "What exactly are you gentlemen doing here?" Their faces drained of color like they'd just seen a ghost. The HOA had declared war over a 100-year-old oak tree in our backyard, and they just picked the wrong family to intimidate. Rachel and I had spent over a year searching for the right place to settle down after a life of military relocations. I had served as a Marine for 12 years before transitioning to civilian life as a structural engineer. Rachel stayed in the Navy, rising through the ranks to become a lieutenant commander and now head of base security. We wanted roots for ourselves and for our 10-year-old son, Jack, who'd grown up on bases from California to Okinawa. When we found the colonial-style home in Crestmont Hills, with its wide porch, big backyard, and that majestic old oak tree, it felt like the promise of peace. Jack had plans for treehouses, tire swings, and climbing adventures. We had plans for barbecues, late-night porch talks, and finally being still. Crestmont Hills was a picturesque neighborhood complete with white picket fences and manicured lawns. It seemed ideal. It wasn't. We barely unpacked our boxes when Victoria Langford, the HOA president, showed up. Silver blonde hair, suit too sharp for suburbia, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She handed us a welcome basket, but her gaze lingered on the boxes on our porch and Jack's bike lying in the grass. It was less a visit than a veiled inspection. "That oak tree," she said, peering past me into the yard, "it's quite imposing. Our neighborhood tends to favor a more manicured look." Her tone made it clear that the tree wasn't just a tree. It was an offense. "The tree stays," I told her. Her expression didn't falter, but something behind her eyes did. "Well, we'll see," she said cryptically. "I'm sure you want to be good neighbors." Rachel watched her leave and muttered, "She's not enforcing rules. She's marking territory." From there, it snowballed. Notices began arriving. Our lawn was too long by a quarter-inch. Our trash bins were visible from the street for 4 extra minutes. Jack's basketball hoop was too prominent. Each infraction came with a fine. They weren't enforcing order. They were applying pressure. Daniel Reyes, a neighbor and law professor, pulled me aside at a block party. "Don't let Victoria push you around. She sees this place as her kingdom since her husband died. You're not the first she's tried to drive out." Rachel, ever the tactician, launched a counteroffensive. She pored over the HOA bylaws, highlighting every vague clause and contradiction. She tracked surveillance SUVs outside her home. Walter Denny, a former cop turned HOA enforcer, was particularly persistent, photographing our property at all hours. Jack grew scared of the man in the black car. Nancy Tate, the HOA secretary, quietly slipped us information. "It wasn't this bad with the Parkers," she whispered. We followed the lead and found Melissa Parker, now living in a smaller home across town. Victoria had driven her family out, citing endless violations over a similar oak tree. The real reason? A developer wanted access through their lot. Rachel unearthed the paper trail. Victoria had financial ties to Crestmont Development, and Councilman Greg Halpern had approved rezoning plans shortly after the Parkers sold. Our home was next. That tree stood in the way of progress and profit. One night, Rachel caught Walter and Victoria on camera trespassing in our yard, measuring the oak. We documented everything. Then came the forged arborist report, a notice demanding immediate removal, and fines piling up. At the HOA meeting, Victoria and her attorney, Ryan Finch, laid out their case. But Rachel and I came prepared. We proved the report was forged. Rachel displayed historic covenant documents protecting heritage oaks. Eleanor Monroe, a retired founder of the neighborhood, backed us. The crowd murmured, shifting. Victoria doubled down. That's when Rachel played the recording of Victoria and Walter discussing tactics to remove us. The room went still. The HOA was no longer just annoying. They were criminals. 2 nights later, with me at a conference, Rachel faced their most desperate move. Fake police officers sent to intimidate her. She saw through it immediately. When they threatened arrest, she pulled out her naval credentials. "Gentlemen," she said, "you're impersonating law enforcement. I suggest you stay put." They paled. One blurted, "Walter hired us. We were just supposed to scare you." Officer Jamila Ward from the sheriff's department arrived minutes later. The imposters were arrested. Their statements implicated Walter and, by extension, Victoria. The Sheriff's Department, NCIS, and even the FBI opened inquiries. At the next emergency HOA meeting, Victoria attempted to save face. She announced a court-ordered inspection. But we showed the order was based on the forged report. Rachel laid out the entire conspiracy: rezoning maps, bank transfers to Victoria from Crestmont Development, Walter's criminal record, and testimonials from other harassed homeowners. Nancy confessed to falsifying meeting minutes under pressure. Eleanor read aloud the original HOA charter. Daniel motioned for a vote of no confidence. Victoria was removed. The FBI escorted Greg Halpern from the meeting for questioning. Walter accepted a plea deal. The development halted, and our tree, officially declared a protected landmark by the new board. A month later, we hosted a community barbecue beneath its branches. Neighbors laughed, kids played, and Jack led a nature club meeting at the base of the tree. Rachel smiled beside me. They thought we were just another family to push around. I raised a glass. To the oak. And to standing your ground. And under that oak, our family finally put down roots worth defending. What followed was a quiet transformation of the neighborhood. Without Victoria's stifling leadership, a new board was elected, one focused on transparency, fairness, and actual community building. Daniel Reyes took over as interim president, and Nancy Tate stayed on as secretary, now more empowered to voice her conscience. We even started a monthly town hall-style HOA gathering that felt more like a social get-together than a courtroom session. Rachel became something of a local hero. Her story, our story, spread well beyond Crestmont Hills. Mark Parnell, a reporter who had covered the investigation, published a feature piece titled The Battle of the Oak Tree. It highlighted the abuses of HOA power and the quiet strength of military families standing their ground. The article went viral, spurring discussions across online forums, legal blogs, and even prompting local legislators to draft new protections for homeowners facing abusive HOA practices. Despite all the attention, life gradually returned to normal for us. Jack's Nature Club blossomed into a weekly event where kids explored trees, bugs, and the backyard creek. Rachel kept a laminated copy of the original covenant with the oak protection clause in her office. Not as a trophy but as a reminder. Every now and then, we'd receive a letter from someone across the country who'd read our story and wanted advice. A retired Air Force couple in Arizona. A single mom in Florida. A family of teachers in Oregon. They all faced similar HOA overreach. Rachel answered every one. It's not just about the tree, she often wrote. It's about knowing your rights, finding allies, and never backing down from what's right. Years passed, but the oak stood tall. Its roots grew deeper, as did ours. The swing Jack once played on was now used by younger neighborhood kids. The base of the tree was surrounded by handmade stepping stones painted with names and a living monument to community unity. And every 4th of July, the entire neighborhood gathered under its shade for food, laughter, and a fireworks show organized by a now friendly board. Rachel and I would sit back and watch it all unfold, sipping lemonade, our hands clasped gently together. That old oak had become more than just a tree. It was a reminder that when good people stand firm, even the oldest roots can grow stronger. And in Crestmont Hills, justice didn't just bloom, it was deeply rooted.